I want to welcome Brad Griffith, Director of Online Learning Initiative from Oklahoma State Region for Higher Education. Dr. Kathy Similler is an Professor of Professional Practices and Open Educational Resources from Oklahoma State University, and Marla Luby, Public Service Librarian at East Central University, presenting Reaching the Summit through OER. Please start.
Thank you very much, Abe.
So this screen gives us a chance to share a little bit about the Council for Online Learning Excellence, or COLE. I'm Kathy Essler with Oklahoma State University. And you see some high points about the kind of the genesis and emergence of this organization. It was established in 2015, and basically it's a volunteer community of like-minded educators and innovators that came together to figure out how to support, improve online learning teaching opportunities, kind of things associated with teaching, learning, and research in online spaces. And we've got the focus there as some subcommittees that people have a chance to serve on, and build out resources for statewide collaboration and use in the state of Oklahoma.
Okay, and we're talking specifically about the COLE OER subcommittee today. And this committee has really been transformative for me. To give you an example, I'm currently the PI on a $400,000 grant from IMLS, which is the Federal Institute of Museum and Library Services. And that whole grant was made possible because of COLE. So the idea for it came from a conversation between Kathy and Jamie Holmes and myself, and then putting the application together. And when we needed another partner, we were able to get connected with Redlands Community College through COLE. And then on the application itself, just saying that we had access to this group of 45 people from 27 organizations that were cross-functional expertise. All of that really made our application stand out, because IMLS wanted to see that we had a way to gather feedback from a diverse group of people and to distribute our results through a diverse group of people. Just to kind of give you a glimpse of what we've done in 2020 and 2021 so far, we've brought in guest speakers to talk about the bookstore relationships and OER initiatives on campus. We've had a request to share our OER training, so we collected all of the OER LibGuides in the state and put them on the OCO website. We have an OER 101 book in progress that's also serving as a Pressbooks pilot project. We'll share more about that later. And then we've been working with Reach Higher, which is a multi-institutional program in Oklahoma, to start replacing some of their textbooks with OER.
So this is my chance to talk a little bit about another group that we have for online collaboration in Oklahoma called the Online Consortium of Oklahoma. If those of you that are on here had a chance to participate in the State of Online Learning in Oklahoma presentation on March 31st, you heard a little bit more information about this group. But really the primary things I wanted to tell you about it is that it was started in 2018 as a membership-based group of institutions. And the real goal that they had was to band together and find opportunities for shared resources and other opportunities for collaboration that go beyond the ability of individual volunteers to make things happen. So generally, COLE and OCO work very closely together, and this is one of the things that we're going to discuss with Pressbooks coming up. And actually, just to give everybody a hint here, if you stay on for the next 30-minute session, it is actually an introductory dive into Pressbooks. So I encourage you, if you're curious about that one, to make sure that you stay on here. We do have a website available, which you can access at ocolearnok.org. There is, again, as Marla mentioned, a priorities webpage, which we'll show you shortly as well about OER on that website. One of the most important things I think that's come out of OCO is that they are actually responsible for the ongoing funding for my position as Director of Online Learning Initiatives at the state region. So it was because of the commitments of our 25 member institutions from the state system, that my position as a professional staff member to serve as liaison to these groups is actually possible. So OER is definitely one of the focus areas of OCO, among many other things, including digital accessibility, professional development, and also researching of emerging technologies and opportunities that we have there for shared contracts. So again, I highly encourage you to reach out to me if you have any questions about OCO, or also visit our website to see the ample number of resources that are available for faculty and staff there. So as I mentioned previously, we do have a new webpage that is dedicated to OER priorities within the OCO website. So this, I would say, is probably one of the most consistently updated web pages within our website, because OER is such a moving target within the state. There's a lot of activity that can happen both at the administrative level, but also down to the classroom level. So if anybody at any institutions are aware of any activities with open educational resources that you might like to have featured on our webpage, there's a way on our website for you to funnel that information to us. So some of the examples that you can see that are right there on the page, we have highlights for materials development. So as faculty are implementing or developing OER for their courses, we want to make sure that there's an opportunity to highlight that. Not only to show and hopefully promote tenure and promotion capacity with OER, but also to actually let people know what resources are becoming available through our institutions so that they could also use them, adapt them with the 5 R's of OER. The middle tier that you can see in this image is for project proposals or grant collaboration. So you can see that our most recent article is a feature on the ECU, OSU, and Redlands Community College grant collaboration, which we're very proud to have taken part of. More recently, we've embarked upon shared resources through Open Education. One of those, obviously, that's really a hallmark of OCO is the acquisition of Pressbooks, which I think I'm going to cover up on the next slide. Actually, I guess not. So another opportunity that we've recently been discussing, or I should say launching for faculty and staff across the state, is digital credentialing that represents competencies for open education. So two of these are actually actively available right now for faculty and staff participants or collaborators. One of those is actually the OER Champion Badge. So this one was actually initiated by our 2020 Fall OER Summit that was held, I believe, on October 3rd. That event was actually just a one-day Friday, brief summit that gave our participants an overview of OER. So really kind of give them an idea of what their motivations may be for doing OER, and also, a general understanding of Creative Commons licensing, which is a very important component for those who are about to embark on open education. And then again, asking them how they may actually use OER in their own context. So there's a very brief quiz available for the OER Champion Badge that again is really helpful, very simple out there to be able to, and again, I'm sorry.
I don't know why it just suddenly stopped presenting, but I'll get it back on.
No problem. But again, it's a very short quiz that you all are actually able to take now to very quickly qualify for that OER Champion Badge. So digital credentials are something that are going to become increasingly more popular for faculty throughout the state. We in OCO and Cole are actually not alone in our initiatives of doing digital credentials. Even Quality Matters, for example, just announced yesterday that they are about to start issuing digital badges and micro credentials for faculty. So our hope, again, is that by awarding such tokens or digital credentials to faculty and beginning to recognize the competencies that really need to go into being able to perform this work, that we're going to be able to start getting this recognized for what it is, which is scholarly activity on behalf of faculty. So the next one that you see right there is the one that I'm perhaps more excited about, and it's the OER OCO Collaborator Badge. So this is actually the opportunity that we're going to be giving for faculty that collaborate on OER projects, which again, if you stick around for the Pressbooks session, which is the next round, you'll find out a lot more information about those opportunities. But generally, if there are faculty teams, more than one individual that's working on an OER project, we would like to recognize that work through the Online Consortium of Oklahoma. So again, I ask you, if you are aware of any of these kinds of initiatives going on your campus, please give me a shout and let me know. I would really love to help you recognize and kind of heighten those efforts on your campus to recognize OER proficiency among your faculty and staff.
Some other opportunities we have for you to participate in COLE is through our online portals. These came about as a result of a feedback loop that is really what makes being in COLE great, is we discuss a need or a concern that we have, and then we take action on it and build something to meet that need. So the Oklahoma OER collaboration space is a Moodle site that anyone can make an account for at this link here. And this came as a result of last year's Learning Innovation Summit, where we had an OER session and faculty were requesting a place to meet and collaborate with other faculty in Oklahoma on projects, on troubleshooting, things like that. And this is where the OER 101 Pressbooks that I mentioned earlier will live, as well as any other trainings that we develop. And then the other space that you can be involved in is with the grant that I'm doing. Open Lifelong Learning is our short name for it. And you can log on, see what we've done so far, give your feedback, and just be involved in that project. We have also, as a way to help facilitate collaborations in Oklahoma, created the hashtag OER4, the number 4, OK. And that is all caps, OER4OK. And so we can take the conversation to social media and start collaborating there.
So this is Kathy again at Oklahoma State University. So we kind of glossed over the beginning of this. The purpose of this presentation, of course, is to explore how we feel like we are reaching the summit through OER in Oklahoma. We haven't, of course, reached the summit. We're continuing our journey, and I'm confident that once we reach one summit, that we'll be able to look forward and see yet another one that we think we can get to with these collaborations. You've probably noticed a theme throughout what we've shared so far, and that is collaboration. We're better together. The whole is greater than the sum of our parts. And we've intentionally, as Brad has mentioned, he sees this as a community of innovators. And of course, diffusion of innovations theory defines an innovation as an idea or practice perceived as new. And diffusion of innovations is enhanced through community, through the development of interpersonal and intrapersonal relationships. And that truly is what's happened with COLE and with OCO. And so hopefully you can kind of continue to see how the role of community in these collaborations across the state of Oklahoma have combined to really build our capacity and increase our ability to innovate on behalf of our community. So in this slide, we're kind of doing a little transition to discussing the Pressbooks platform. Pressbooks is a digital platform that facilitates the creation and modification of teaching, learning, and research materials. And we acquired a branded instance of it at Oklahoma State University a year or two ago. A while back, Oklahoma State University Libraries committed to supporting open practices as part of the strategic plan at Oklahoma State University. We felt like incorporation of open practices complemented the mission of the academic library in that it increased the discoverability of the scholarship and creative works of our community. We wanted to continue building an open culture of partnership and collaboration, and kind of turn to different resources to figure out how can we more effectively facilitate that with available resources. And we came across Pressbooks and saw that it was a platform that would be very useful for content creation and modification. And use of Pressbooks has helped us transition from just a series of projects to a sustainable OER program, in addition to just the physical digital platform, which is, I guess, a weird sentence that maybe doesn't mean anything, but it has brought us into community with other Pressbooks EDU users and enabled us to put our faculty in conversation with faculty at universities across the United States and in other countries as well, to continue to build their open practice. And it just occurred to me, we have not defined OER. So I'll just toss out a definition of open educational resources as teaching, learning, and research materials that have been intentionally created and licensed so that they might be freely used, modified, adapted, retained by the end user. So sorry to just throw that out there as an oral definition. But if you are, it's sometimes hard to forget that not everyone's doing this all day, all the time. So that's a little bit of how we came to Pressbooks at Oklahoma State University. So then as we got more involved with Cole, and grateful for the opportunity to collaborate in the level we're able to with OCO, we were thinking, how can we help bring about what's happened at OSU for the entire state? As a land grant institution, part of our role and our opportunity and our privilege is to support and help improve, bring communities together to build knowledge across the state. And part of my job as the OER librarian is to partner where I can across the state to help share our resources with others. So we felt like our partnership and our collaboration with OCO provide an opportunity to collaborate statewide. And then we have 3 institutions in the state of Oklahoma who either through OCO or Oklahoma State University on their own have unlimited access to Pressbooks. And kind of these memberships really have positioned all but one of our state institutions with access to content creation and modification opportunities using Pressbooks EDU. So it's very exciting that OCO has been able to provide those opportunities to other institutions. And so far this year, OCO has developed a workflow to maximize the use of OCO Pressbooks, created an OCO Pressbooks steering committee, created an author guide, et cetera, to help kind of scope and provide a little bit of a scaffold for people entering into collaborative projects with OCO Pressbooks, and secured grant funding for collaborators creating content to be shared statewide through OCO. And so I'm going to say that last sentence again, just in case you tuned out, because I talked a lot and started with theory and then an operational definition. Oh my gosh. But OCO has secured grant funding for institutions associated with OCO to collaborate to create OER for publication in OCO Pressbooks. There's money.
I will say, here's a little bit of a preview of the money, but I am not going to spend very much time reviewing this slide because it's going to be reviewed pretty intensively during the next session. But just to say that there are actually 3 different grant opportunity types that will become available starting summer 2021 through OCO. So this kind of really varies upon the basis of involvement or required contribution on the part of the faculty contributor here, or who we're calling author contributors. But generally, this is going to consist of $2,500 opportunities for fully authored projects, so using your own unique research. There are also opportunities for $1,000 grants for the remixing and revision of existing resources. And this is really where a lot of the magic happens with open education. It's looking out there and pulling the best, curating the best materials to meet the learning outcomes for your course. So I personally, along with a couple of other faculty members that Marla mentioned from the Reach Higher program, am embarking upon one of these types of projects right now for my course. The very easiest one, the one that you can call the lowest hanging fruit possible, is actually this lower one right here with the $500. This is for adopting a whole existing resource. And again, there are plenty of opportunities available, to adopt great quality work that's already been produced. And again, we'll expose you to some of that in the next session on Pressbooks. Some of the funding principles that really do lie behind the project funding that is going to become available. And Kathy really, I think, hit the nail on the head with a lot of these already. But we do look to promote these open OCO OER project opportunities, which are collaborative in nature. One of the things that we do seek to increase is faculty participation through incentivization. It's a lot of time and investment and resources that go in on the part of faculty for these projects, and that really needs to be recognized for what it is and given justice. We do also seek to promote the participation of talented, non-salaried adjunct faculty, which is actually the category that I personally fall into as an adjunct faculty member for online courses. This is really a good opportunity, I think, to harness some expertise that may not necessarily have an opportunity to interact with this type of academic activity or scholarly activity. So again, looking at the value and kind of recognizing these resources where they exist. Obviously, we want to reward completion of proposed projects through the financial support. So we have opportunities available for faculty that want to embark on these projects without funding. You can do that immediately in our system today. But again, we do want to reward the completion with financial support wherever we can, which again, the return on investment for this at the end of the day is that we provide equitable opportunities for the creation of OER to those who may not necessarily have the opportunity to do this. whether it's that their institution may not necessarily have the infrastructure prepared to support OER, or perhaps other reasons. But the benefit for really all of this at the end of the day that's not necessarily stated on here is the student outcomes. We aim to improve learning outcomes in our online courses and face-to-face courses, any type of course modality, and ultimately increase equity and opportunity through the reduction of costs that our students are paying.
Okay, so now we welcome you to use the chat to ask any questions you have about COLE or OCO, or if you don't have any questions, just share with us why you are in the education field. We want to hear from you about that.
So, and kind of the reason we put the tell us your why on there is kind of an acknowledgement of the fact that everyone is tired. It's been a rough go. And the folks in the classroom have been teaching in and among a variety of spaces with so little certainty, and the students are tired, and it's good sometimes to reconnect with the dreams and the hopes that brought us to this field. And once we kind of get back in touch with those, sometimes then we can see how elements of open practice can help make those possible. And it looks like, yeah, we've got some folks chatting. Marlo, what are you seeing in the chat?
Well, Thomas pointed out that we aren't in it for the money, which is a good point. So why are we here? Chimtamani said to learn. I have to agree with that. That was part of my motivation for becoming a librarian, was the chance to learn new things all the time. And with OER, you can learn anything that you want. I'm doing
Marla, that honestly speaks to me, even to the purpose of the grant project that you're working on with IMLS on open lifelong learning. That's really even, if you dig into the greater principles of open education, that's the magic that you can bring to your students with these kinds of activities, is even involving them in these projects. So again, lifelong learning, I think, is definitely a good opportunity that we can recognize with open education.
We have a couple of responses about students deserve an equitable, effective learning experience, and Christina wants to be a part of that. Carrie also mentioned making things equitable for her students, and that education provides equity, kind of evens the playing ground a little bit. Jamie says, I love seeing things click for my students. She thinks she's nerdy that way. That is very fun, Jamie, to see things click. We also have from Chimtamani making knowledge free, which is a very foundational principle of open, is free. And also equity is a conversation that happens a lot in the open world, and both getting diverse perspectives, not just what can be published by a major publishing company, but what are the stories that haven't been told yet about history or science, and then getting diverse representation in the books, using diverse photos, example names, all of that.
May I add something here?
Sure.
Many of the OER content also certified by Creative Commons, which directly faculty can bring it to their courses by understanding Creative Commons certification. And they use it in their courses, and then a student can access it without hesitation. Actually, you can create, as you all know, courses completely on OER and Creative Commons. Thank you.